Good morning, good evening, everyone. My name is Arshi. I'm a doctoral scholar for Center for African Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University. Today, I'll be presenting a presentation on Indian migration to East Africa, old and new forms of indenture. The themes of my presentation would be divided into an introduction, the early Indian migration to East Africa, indentureship and colonial rule in East Africa, expulsion and exodus of Indians from East Africa, new migration trends of Indian migration to East Africa, and finally the conclusion. Um, Indian diaspora has been an important aspect of East African history and culture. The Indian settlers in East Africa are referred in a very generic term as the Asian settlers in the region. Indian diaspora in Africa as a whole is a very vast and unique. The African continent has played host to Indian settlers for multiple generations, either voluntarily or through forced circumstances. Indians first came to Africa as merchants, traders, who were more interested in trade and economic ties with Africa. A few of these merchants and traders also settled here, but for the major part, Indian migration came to Africa during the colonial times. They came as slaves or indentured labor and settled in various parts of Africa. The Asian men first landed in the East African region and were later followed by their women. The settlers wanted their children to prosper in their adopted country. However, at the same time, they preferred to adopt Indian family values, marry other Indians, and share their common culture. In other words, South Asians tended to reproduce their cultural values and language and religion in the place of their settlement. They came to the region initially as traders and merchants and established business and set up ties in the region. This thus enabled the establishment of the diasporic community in the region. When we talk about the colonial circumstances, the colonial phase saw the indentured system coming to force after the abolition of slavery. The indentured labor was a system of bonded labor that was instituted following the abolition of slavery. An indentured servant or indentured labor is an employee within a system of unfree labor with a bound contract, be it a 3-year contract or a 4-year contract, to work for a particular employer at that time. Indian workers were recruited by the British as indentured labor to work on the sugar, cotton, and tea plantations, and also for the railway construction projects in the colonies, especially in the African region, the West Indies, and the Southeast Asian region. In the East Africa, the Indian journey escalated when the Indians, especially the Sikhs from Punjab and Gujaratis from Gujarat, signed a 3-year indentured contract under the colonial rule to build in the railway line starting from Mombasa to Uganda. This thus opened a lot of gates and opportunities for other merchants, artisans, watchmen, etc., to also come and settle in the region because of the already settled Indian indentured laborers there. The colonial rule in East Africa gained prominence due to its striking feature of compartmentalizing the society into racial groups and reinforcing a segregation via social, economic, and political discriminations and practices. Such compartmentalizing feature of the colonial rules suited the Indian temperament to the T. They were a conservative community and were therefore glad to be left alone to pursue their own interests, goals, and traditional ways, and also maintain their own culture. However, such a segregation laid down the roots of anti-Asian sentiments in the native African population as they considered the Asian policy of isolation as a party where their own culture and traditions were concerned. The Asians had introduced, at that time, during the colonial time, the Asians had introduced what you call it a free flowing cash to the economy and also manned the middle level colonial civil services as well. In short, the Asians were a part and parcel of the colonial landscape during that time. The colonial phase also saw a very strange triangular relationship between the Indian diaspora, the native Africans, and the European imperialists. During the phase, the Asians were not seen as individuals by either of the two, but be it the native Africans or the European counterparts. They were mistrusted by Africans for being pure pro-Europeans and for Europeans for having preconceived notions and stereotypical image of the Asian settlers there. According to Neera Kapoor Romson in her book Jailam to Tanna, no matter which caste he belonged, a Brahmin or an untouchable, the Indian was a coolie or a dukawala or at best a babu. Whereas for Yasmin Ali Bhai Brown in her book The Settlers Cookbook, the despised by all factions of brown. Such statements and thoughts reflect the colonial circumstances of the diasporic community in the East African region. Furthermore, Due to the economic control over the finances, they were criticized by Africans, and due to the racial policies by the British colonial rule, they were considered only a small step above the native population. In short, they were considered as a middleman between the two factions. The post-colonial phase saw changed East Africa. It was time where anti-Asian slogans and sentiments rose in the political and social scenarios and were ruthless and violent in the interactions of the Indian diasporic community. This phase saw Kenyanization policy by Kenyatta that primarily focused on pro-African policies and against Asians living there. Furthermore, this was also the time for exodus and the atrocities by Idi Amin. The famous farewell speech of by Idi Amin on 5th August 1972, where he gave 90 days for Asians to collect their belongings and find another home. And the reason cited was that they came to build in the railway line. Now the project is completed, so they have to leave. And he also accused them for economic sabotage and unwilling to invest in the African growth and development. Such sentiments were actually a side effect or a consequence of the colonial mindset, which laid down the roots of such anti-Asian sentiments. Overall, the political atmosphere of late 1960s and 70s was tense and turbulent, which led to the exile of the most Asians from the region. However, the exile was followed by multiple crimes against them, like the rapes, the looting, molestation, demeaning, etc. In 1982, there was another coup in Kenya, which actually created a similar circumstances of another exodus. However, the exodus did not happen at that time. The 1990s saw a new phase in the Asian migration, wherein because of the global pressure, the Asian community was asked to return to the region, be it by President Museveni or others. The economic situation in East Africa had degraded, and there was a pressure from IMF and World Bank to bring back investments, and specifically the Asian investments in Africa. The returning Asian population brought about investments, employment opportunities to the region, and the 1990s therefore witnessed a time for stabilization of economy and coming back of the Asian diaspora or the Indian diaspora in Africa. The 2000s saw a new wave of Indian migration to the region, because of the employment opportunities. In the contemporary times, Indians voluntarily go to the East African region in search for jobs and monetary opportunities. With the expansion of Indian communities and diaspora in East Africa, like Bharti Airtel, Mahindra and Mahindra, Mehta Group, Mahatwani Group, etc., the Indian population find relatively familiar environment there, which in turn result in migration of Indian population to the region. During the 2000s, multinational Indian firms began to expand their investments in Uganda. Tata Uganda Limited, which engages in the import and sale of motor vehicles and pharmaceuticals, is one such example. These new firms employ Indian expatriate labor for upper-level management, as well as Indian employees for semi-skilled labor, such as management, accounting, IT sector, etc. Firms in Uganda and other firms in the East African region often seek Indian employees using websites like Monster.com, Naukri.com to hire skilled professionals and accountants. These returning Ugandan Asian families and or the Asian families back to the East African region often follow the suit and seek Indian labor. Indian labor through similar employment sites to come to Uganda and or Kenya or Tanzania to work in these firms. The new construction of Asian investor represent a progressive, modern, cosmopolitan, and secure East African region, unlike the fake investors of the previous decades. Another positive element for the Asian migration to or Asian in new forms of migration to the East African region was on July 22nd, 2017, Uhuru Kenyatta government announced that the Asian community would be officially recognized as the 44th tribe in Kenya, because of their contribution to the nation. Such a census or such a move by the native Kenyan government is actually another positive element towards the Asian migration to the region, which creates a very comfortable environment for them to travel there. In 2019, the Kenyan census recorded roughly around 47,555 Kenyan citizens of Asian origin, while 42,972 individuals were Asians without Kenyan citizenship. Thus, to conclude, I would say that the East African region has witnessed indentured slavery contract under the colonial government, and in the contemporary modern times, self-migration of Indians to the region for better opportunities and experience. East Africa provides a plethora of opportunities for the Indian diaspora there, with the presence of diaspora already there, who've been living there in the region for decades. The new diaspora find a familiar environment for them, something which is a cultural, on cultural level and language level, which is another positive element for traveling to the region. Specifically, people of low income groups in India or with experiences. Also, for the people with business expansion opportunities, also travel to East Africa for business expansion projects as well, be it the education sector, the IT sector, the pharmaceutical sectors, etc. It can also be stated that with time, the reasons of migration of Indians to East Africa have evolved, and the forms of indenture have also transformed from a forced indentured colonial system to a self-contractual work for a new employment opportunities and experiences. My paper have tried to analyze the shift in the migration of Indians in the East African region and how the new and old form of indenture work in the modern East African context, as well as the old forms. In the modern times, you can also say that the work opportunities and the self will of the workers to travel to East Africa is one of the important reasons of what you call it, a new form of indentured system where they voluntarily sign contract because they want to go to the region. So the indentured system might not be the same as that was the colonial times, but the feature of the contract signing and traveling to East Africa as a favored destination by the Indian diaspora is still prevalent. Thank you.